Who's ready to go get some money? Who's ready for money to come after them? Now I want you to give yourself a round of applause. But before you do, you invested your time today. What is the most valuable non-renewable thing you can get back? And guess what you did today on a Saturday morning? Invested with us today. Give yourselves a round of applause. There's not much for me to say. Joseph said everything about money. I appreciate you, sir. I'm going to try to follow this up. Who leaves an inheritance to their children's children? I'm sorry, what was that? A good man and a good woman. Are you a good man? Are you a good woman? You're a good man, you're a good woman? You're a good man, you're a good woman? So what are you going to leave behind? All right. So the question is, how do we do that? A lot of us, we talk about leaving a legacy. A lot of us, we have this thing called the business, and/or we have a job. What does that do? Produces money. The money is called what? Income. Now, we understand how to go get this money. We understand how to get this income. But the question is, what do we do with it? We use income. We turn it into capital to invest. And what's the goal that we're trying to accomplish? Somebody said it. Wealth. All right. So let's define what wealth is. Wealth is an accumulation of assets that buys back my time, that affords me to live the lifestyle that I desire. So one key word in there, we hear this term a lot called asset. So let's talk about what an asset is, right? An asset is literally where I put my time and my resources into something, expecting a greater rate of return. That rate of return will come in every stream of income, whether it be residual, monthly or quarterly. It pays me. Tip, never hold something that doesn't pay you in or that you cannot leverage, right? That's an asset. But an asset can also do what? Appreciate in value. I buy it at 10 and I can sell it for 100. When it comes to buying assets, we always want to buy income producing assets first. Why is that? I got bills every month. I got an SBA loan that I got to pay back. I need income to make those payments. I got a lifestyle that I want to live, right? So imagine if you had $100,000 right now and you bought billions of gold. Guess what just happened? Your net worth just increased. You're more valuable. But how is that gold bullion going to pay your mortgage next month? How is it going to pay your rent next month? What if I would have took the $100,000 and bought a laundromat that's paying me net $5,000 cash every single month? Now what do I have? Residual income now. I have more time to invest into myself, more time to go create, more time to learn, right? So now we're talking about getting this money, but we have to have a solid foundation. So what does that look like? So when we buy assets, there's many asset classes from cash equivalents to crypto, to commodities, real estate, stocks, businesses. But what asset class is right for you? Number one, we know income producing cash flow, but we need something that's going to preserve our capital. There's a foundation that we need to build. And without a strong foundation, guess what? Everything else doesn't matter. Everything else falls. So I ask you all, I'm going to give you guys 3 chances. If you were to choose any asset class in the world, what is that foundational asset class that you need in order to appropriately build wealth and achieve the lifestyle that you desire? What is that asset? Is it stocks? Is it real estate? Is it crypto? Is it Ethereum? You keep your hand down. I know you. I wish you would. Real estate? Go ahead. What's that one asset class you need? Everybody got one. Everybody in here has one. Your mind is an asset. I love that. I love that concept. You are an asset, right? You are your greatest asset that has the longest shelf life. You should always invest into yourself first. But that's not the asset I'm looking for. What's that foundational asset that we need to operate with? Insurance. I love that. Insurance is normally when I transfer the risk of something to somebody else. That's a great asset class to have, but that's not the foundation. Cash equivalents, right? So we look at cash, as Joseph just mentioned. Cash is a medium of exchange. Cash has no intrinsic value. It's just what someone agrees to buy for something else. The thing is, when it comes to the cash, which is derived from income, we turn it into capital, and then we invest that into an asset that actually has value into it, right? But where do our cash go? Into a bank. We all need a checking account in order to build wealth. Does everybody agree? I see here. Okay. You might be thinking about a traditional checking account, aren't you?
Yeah.
Oh, what's wrong? Y'all don't like ViStar? Yeah, I don't like it much either. But listen, it's neither here or there. But the reason I position it like this, right? When we get paid, if I receive an invoice, if I send out an invoice from a client, whether it be PayPal, Venmo, or a merchant service company, they pay me, and where does the money go to? Okay, if I need to write a check and pay a bill, where does the money come from? All right, if I want to put money away in savings, where do we normally put money into? So banks seems like a vital part in us building this thing called wealth. Let's not forget what we're trying to build. We're trying to build a lifestyle, right? I posed this question to someone. Do you guys want to make $1 million a year and work 80 hours a week? Or would you want to make $8,000 a week and you have all the time in the world? Which one would you choose? Wait, $1 million? You know, 30,000 times, that's about what? Almost $400,000? If you get 32,000, you would choose that over $1 million?
I would take 8 a week all day long.
Why is that? The reason why, a lot of us after this thing called what? Money freedom, right? We want to have enough money to pay our bills and expenses. We don't want that worry. We want to be able to take care of our kids, our loved ones, to travel, to eat nice, to take care of our health. But what we really should be after priority is our time freedom. Time. If I don't have time to enjoy the fruits of my labor, then what? Everything I'm doing is literally in vain, right? So let's identify what the traditional bank account looks like, right? The good thing about bank accounts, or why we like these traditional bank accounts, whether it be checking or savings account, is because they're FDIC insured. That stands for Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, right? That protects $250,000 of your money that you have inside of the bank in case that bank becomes insolvent. But there are strategic ways, whether you have a TOD or a joint on the account, where they can cover more of those funds. Inside that bank account, what the bank does, they take your deposits. A bank has no assets. Banks depend on your dollars in order to operate their business. One of the bank's biggest revenue streams is what we call interest. It's what they receive. And guess how they receive interest? From loaning out what you put into it. So they make money off your money, and guess how much money you're making?
0.007%.
Boy, that's kind of generous, but absolutely. Hey, y'all sound a little ungrateful, but hey, could be zero, right? But at the end of the day, they're paying you pennies, literally pennies on the pennies, right? I can't even say pennies on the dollars. What's also interesting is that the interest that you receive is taxed at your ordinary income tax bracket. You got to pay taxes on the interest, measly interest that they're paying you. Now, if I wanted to do this thing, right, when it comes to building wealth, one of the main ways to build wealth is we do what? Use this thing called leverage. Wealthy people, we don't save our way to wealth, we leverage our way to wealth. How can you leverage money inside of your bank account? If I got $100,000 and I take out 40, I have $60,000 left. How much is the bank going to pay me on that $40,000 I just took out from there? So they barely pay me nothing, and then they're going to pay me absolutely nothing if I take my money out of the bank. So I can't even leverage my bank account. It is protected up to $250,000. But I also run a business. I have a car. I have a dog. My dog can bite somebody. My car can hit somebody. Or I'm in business and someone can try to sue me. Now I'm subject to litigation. Guess what can erode and take my wealth? Lawyers, creditors. That bank account is tied to what? My social security number. So what happens if I get sued? Guess what can be taken away from me in an instance? Guess what the IRS can seize, and I can't access my money to operate to pay bills and expenses. But this is where we keep our money at, right? But keep in mind, we do need this bank in order to build this thing called wealth. But let's look on the other side, right? Who likes to travel? Who likes to do risky things? What's so funny? Well, y'all do too risky of things. All right. Okay, that's subjective. So, do we know like every 6 seconds, someone becomes disabled? Every 6 seconds becomes disabled, right? So let's say I'm bungee jumping. I'll take my buddy. We play basketball. We went to the University of North Florida. We played basketball. He got in a car accident on 295. He got T-boned. 3 years ago, he can no longer walk. He lost both of his legs. Guess what he did prior to work, prior to getting hit? He drove trucks for UPS. How do you think his income, his money is going to be affected now? How do you think his wealth will be affected now? He went to his bank and said, bank, I got $100,000. I got medical bills. I got to get a ramp. I got to buy a new car. Guess what the bank did for him? Nothing. They gave him access to his $100,000 though. So now his wealth building journey has been interrupted by the unexpected. But what if he passes? What if he would have actually died, right? Then he would have left his 3 kids $100,000, right? We said a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children, right? That $100,000 only goes to his children. What about his children's children, right? That's only the first generation. So he's limited on what he can actually leave behind by having this money inside of his bank. Who's still in love with their bank accounts? Come on, man. Y'all was all hyped about ViStar, Wells Fargo. That's another story. I'm not even going to go there, right? But these are the things, and this is what we have to consider, right? Sometimes so much we're focused on building this thing called wealth, we don't think about how we're going to protect and preserve it. We don't think how we're going to exponentially grow it. We have to be in a position where our money works more than one time for us. It's not doing that inside these bank accounts. But long and behold, there are different bank accounts of the asset classes we can build and literally become what? Our own bank. That's where we take the power in our own hands. We've heard of velocity banking, infinite banking. Not everyone knows what they're talking about, nor does a lot of people know how to structure and set these things up appropriately. But let's talk about all the benefits that may or may not come with this. So let's say I take that same example of that $100,000 and I created my own bank. Who wants to have their own bank? Doesn't that sound complicated? Doesn't that sound like I got to get a government charter? I got to have millions of dollars to do this. It doesn't. You don't. But if I had this money inside of your own bank, let's identify what that looks like. $100,000 inside of my own bank, I literally get anywhere from about 3 to 6% rate of return on my money every single year. Hold on, wait, the bank is paying me 0.007, negative minus 48, right? But I can get literally 3 to 6% rate of return on my money. Not only can I get a rate of return on my money, and at least 3% of that money is guaranteed. At least 3% is guaranteed. Who likes the word guaranteed? So that means it's not an investment. We're not doing this for an investment, but it can actually increase our value of our wealth more exponentially. Not only does this particular fund gives me that guaranteed at least 3%, but guess what it also can do? Pay me a dividend. And a dividend is excess earnings of a company that's paid out to those that are owners of that company. So that means you're an owner of this particular fund. And they can pay you out dividends. Are dividends guaranteed? No. But over the last 100 plus years, it's been paying out dividends. The S&P 500 has been going up over the last at least 80 years. So we anticipate it to go up, right? There's a high probability that it's going to continue to go up over time. So if my fund has been paying me dividends for at least 100 plus years, Great Depression, World War, dot-com bubble, subprime mortgage, COVID, anthrax, mom and them passing, and guess what? It's still been paying. There's a likelihood that what? The dividends will continue on. So now I'm getting dividends and I'm getting interest. And guess how much taxes I pay on that? Because it grows what we call tax deferred. There's multiple ways you can access money from your bank that allow you to access it what? Tax free. So wait, I can put money away after tax dollars. It grows tax deferred, and then I can access it tax free. Question, how high has the federal income tax rate has been over the last, let's say, 70 years? How high has it been? How high have we been taxed federally? I got you. So let's go to the highest tax bracket. What is the highest amount? Because we got about 50%. Because currently it's about 40% roughly right now. That's the highest. We got 50%, 70%. One more.
95% at the peak.
You need to stop researching so much. This guy's right. 94 to 95% has been the highest. You worked a whole year, you made $100,000, and you got about less than $10,000 to your name because you had to pay this thing called federal taxes. And of course, there's other taxes associated with that. So if we take history into consideration, a lot of us don't understand like the tax code was created initially for war. That's how you obtain money from citizens. Now we look at the last 4 years. Do you guys know more money has been printed ever than it has been over the last 4 years? That creates a deficit, a debt in our economy. What's the fastest way can the government access money from us? Okay. But what do a lot of us, right? When we look at the middle class, you know the majority of our wealth is tied up in equity in our homes and or employer retirement or individual retirement plans. Majority of the majority of what we're putting our money into these retirement plans are what we call pre-tax. I get to put away $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 a year, and I get a tax break on that. So as a farmer, I got a seed, I plant that apple seed, and the apple seed turns into what? Apple trees. It creates a harvest. So you're telling me you'd rather get a tax benefit on your seed and grow and pay taxes on all your harvest. This is a game. We make contributions to our 401k, 403b, 457, thrift savings plan, simple IRA, IRA account for years and years and years and years. The objective is for that account to what? Grow and appreciate from our contributions and from the growth, whether it be dividends, earnings, or capital appreciation from the investments. And then when we pull it out, we pay taxes on all of that money. And it's assumed that when we're older, we're in a lower tax bracket, right? But when we're older, we no longer have interest deductions on our houses. Now our houses may be paid off. We're no longer making contributions to these retirement accounts. That deduction is gone. We may not be having kids. Well, some people may have kids to 60, 70 years old. They might get a child tax credit. You never know, right? So a lot of these deductions are gone, and we're assuming that the tax rate will stay where it is or go lower. But what if that tax rate goes higher now? And what about Medicare? Do you know they look at the income, the taxable income you have coming in? We don't think strategically long term. Sometimes we make a decision for today. It's always best to start with an end in mind when it comes to financial planning, wealth building, and investing, right? So, all right, so we said that to say that the money grows tax deferred and it can be accessed tax free, but majority of our money is going into pre-tax, and then we're going to be taxed who knows what, right? We're leaving that to risk and chance. But in your own bank, you can access your money tax free, right? So now let's say that my bank, if I put $100,000 into my bank, the company that I have a policy with, that I have part ownership in, they're going to pay me, let's say, $700,000 if I were to die today. I just 7x my estate like that. What did I do? I transferred the risk to somebody else. So now if I pass, now my 3 kids are going to get almost $250,000 each now. All are just about where I'm positioning my assets. But guess what? We still need this thing called liquidity. Things come up. not emergencies, but opportunities. So when these opportunities come up, guess what I need? Access to my bank. And guess how, or when you can access money from your bank? Whenever you want to. How does your credit have to be? It doesn't matter. Guess how much income you have to make? It doesn't matter. How many times can you access money from your bank? It doesn't matter. So that gives us liquidity. Now let's say if I did become disabled and I have money in my bank, do you know that death benefit, I can access part of that death benefit to buy that new car I need, to build that ramp that I need? I can access that death benefit while I'm still alive. This is the type of bank that we need. It's easy than you guys think to create this. This is a way that we can actually put away money, grow our money, and transfer our money. And guess what we have to worry about? Litigation, creditors. That's a contract. That money cannot be accessed to creditors, right? I just seen the hand go up. I'm gonna try to end the conversation like that. I'm not sure if you got time for questions, but I appreciate you guys for investing your time. Hope you heard one thing that you can learn to identify that checking account, a bank account, is what we need to exponentially build this thing called wealth, but it's just not a traditional bank account. And you want to connect with people that knows, educates, and can create the bank account for you to help you build this thing called wealth. Thank you.